In San Diego there. Steve, Maria.
All right, thank you. Let's go right now. I believe, Robin, you're in the newsroom right now.
I am with the stack of documents, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want to tell you what I've been finding here. I've actually gotten my hands here on the inter-departmental correspondence relating to the initial investigation and all the stuff behind the Board of Rights hearing with regards to that police officer, Evans, that Dorner had a beef with, the one that he claimed kicked that guy. And the most interesting thing in reading this, and I'm just starting to read it with my handsy yellow pen here, is that Dorner reported the incident to his supervisor 2 weeks after the alleged incident. And that was a huge part as to why the department found him to not be credible. In addition, he should be clarified that according to these reports, he was on probation. He was a probationary officer at the time of the incident. He was called a police officer too. He was called a police officer too, which would be normally a full-fledged police officer. And the only reason he was called that was based on the number of years that he was in the department. And the reason why he was in the department for so long and still on probation is because he had been deployed to Iraq in between. And so he was on probation, and Officer Evans was actually his field training officer, so basically his supervisor, whom he makes the reports with 2 weeks later. And it goes on. I think one of the things that they talk about is the motivation and the rationale that he may have had to make a, quote, false report, as they are claiming. And what they said that the investigation suggests is that Dorner was struggling to reintegrate to the department upon his return from his year of military duty. Whether that in some way created the motivation for him to make this complaint is not known. However, it does not rationalize it. And so basically, they found him to, they originally, what it looks like is when the report was originally made, they were actually looking at him for failing to report the nefarious actions of another police officer, but once they found out that they were unfounded, it became a situation in which he was lying or misstating evidence.
All right, you know, part of this, and it's important to go back to what Charlie Beck said, he has all kinds of grievances, and maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. But you're talking about somebody who's committing homicide, that there's a logic that whatever happened to me is justified in me going out and killing family members. If indeed it's proven that he's done it, and we assume that he has. The Kwan daughter, for instance, her fiance, a police officer from Riverside who didn't even know probably much of what was going on, so that whatever he had in that, his history, whatever grievance he may have felt, and perhaps, you know, he had some right to feel some grievance. This is over the top and crazy, but I fear that there will be people who will make him a hero to some extent.
Right. I mean, we're already seeing that, and we're seeing that. I'm seeing that in the famous comment sections all over the place. I'm getting it in tweets. And there are aspects, especially in light of the way people have been treated by law enforcement. I mean, we're coming off of the heels yesterday of 7 police officers being fired by the sheriff's department for having an internal gang. I mean, there is an issue of corruption, but when we're sitting here painting a picture of someone, we want to make sure that those of us who are pontificating and drawing conclusions based on manifestos are looking at the other information that may exist well. One other thing that I found in my search, there was a petition for divorce. He actually appears to be married. It was a dissolution in which he was the petitioner several years back, that he was filing for divorce. So it seems like there was something more than just what was going on in LAPD, but his whole personal life, certainly he alludes to that in his manifesto of losing his family, his mom, so forth.
And Robin, meanwhile, as we're going through all the trying to psychologize everything that's going on and looking for motive, there's a man out there who is apparently a killer, heavily armed. We don't know where he is. The story is still going on. We're going to get back to that part of it, but we also want to look at what has happened. Roxy is joining us to talk about the victims, especially this. I mean, it's all heartbreaking, but the two